Hi, everyone. I'm Mad Hildebrandt, and this is the Get Mad Show. Today, our guest is Triana Arnold James, a candidate for Georgia's State Senate District 30. Let's go. Well, welcome, Triana, to the show. We're really excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to see you once again.
Oh, it absolutely is. I love having you on the show. Can you take a minute and just tell our viewers a little bit about you that is not the candidate, Triana, but the actual, what makes you human? What is unique about you?
Oh, let's see what's unique about me. So much. I'm a people person. I love to advocate for people. I love, making sure that our laws that are in place, that is for the people, and just being there. That's why people call me the people's candidate because I hear the stories and and I carry the weight of the world. I guess that would be something personal. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I try not to, but I do because I genuinely care about people and how they're living their daily lives.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I have noticed about you in the last few interviews that we've had together is that you do seem to feel a lot of what's going on around you and in your community, and that's why I'm always glad to have you back here.
And always glad to, because I love your show. Get mad,
Yeah.
I'm getting mad, and I was called an angry black woman anyway, so I was like, okay, well, it's perfect then, because I'm mad. That's hell.
That's it. It's like not necessarily just like angry mad, but just, that getting out there and just saying, this is what we stand for. This is the stuff we need. And just standing up for yourself.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And I know, and that's
for others, because sometimes people feel like no one is listening, and even with this pandemic going on, people feel like no one is listening. And I encourage everybody. I tell everybody, well, guess what? I'm listening.
Yeah, and that's the best way to be. And since you just brought it up, let's talk about COVID-19 for a minute and just what's happening in your district and what the experience is, and obviously not your necessarily solutions. That so much is up to the medical people and scientists, but just what you're experiencing, what's happening in your district.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have as many cases because we're out here in rural Georgia, and we don't have as many cases as what you would see in the metro area. But we do have cases. We have people that are dying because of it, and this pandemic has really revealed a lot about our healthcare system. It's revealed a lot about how we treat people. It's revealed a lot about what we're planning to do in the future to save this, to save this country. And when a pandemic comes of this sort, and it breaks my heart that there are legislators, some of our elected officials were not prepared. We were not prepared for this pandemic, and so many things is going on, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing for the people, and how are you saving lives? And I mean, we're here now, so we just have to make sure that we do what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we watch some. It's just so striking when we see what's happening in Washington D.C. now, to see in the pandemic that has reached the White House, and they talk about, oh, we're contact tracing and we're doing all this stuff and testing every day and all of this, but that isn't being given to us. So
right.
Where is the equality in all of this?
Mm-hmm.
and we just don't see it between what's happening for Washington and what's happening for us.
Yeah, and especially in rural Georgia, because a lot of the people in rural Georgia are hurting. They're uninsured, and when they say go to the your emergency room, because if you sick, you go to the emergency room,
Mm-hmm.
and the emergency room is saying if you have just a fever, if you don't have all the symptoms, then don't come into the emergency room. And people are calling me and saying, well, Triana, what do I do? But if we had expanded Medicaid, more people would have health insurance and they can go to their primary care. And that's like I said, the whole cycle. This pandemic has revealed a lot about our healthcare system, and it's awful. It's awful that you would leave people out there to just say, hey, sink or swim, and people are dying because of it, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah, and I share a lot of that with you. Living in rural New Mexico as we do, and we have, as you aware, this rural hospital, and there, that's an actual designation, the rural hospital, and the level of care is, while it's good, it doesn't have the ability to handle something like COVID-19, and it doesn't. And so when you have an illness, and like, say, if I was stung by a bee this morning, and if you're stung by a bee and you're somebody that you need to go in and get help, you might be afraid to go, or you might be told to drive on up to the road to the next hospital, because people are afraid to go into the hospitals right now.
Right. And oh my gosh, and I saw a post with the nurses footsteps, the nurses and first responders that have died because of COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, oh my gosh, I just broke my heart just to see that.
Yeah, it is. It's hard.
But had the CDC not been, funds not taken away from the CDC, and the pandemic task force had not been terminated, and we could have been prepared. We would have been prepared, because we were warned about, a pandemic of this magnitude can come to the United States. And the pandemic task force was put in place so that these things wouldn't happen. And then if Washington had been prepared, then the states could have been better prepared. And then the local, then the county, then the city. Right. I mean, and then we all would have, during the Ebola virus, the country didn't shut down. During other pandemics, country didn't shut down. But here we are.
Yeah, so. In this instance, we were so unprepared. And like you said, cities and counties and states, locality, the local area, nobody was prepared, because we didn't get the right information. But more than that, we didn't have the equipment, we didn't have the PPE, and we didn't know where to buy it, and FEMA wasn't out there supplying it in the way that they did for previous pandemics, and that it's really snowballed down. And I know that
and I think that it should have been a combination of the CDC, FEMA, and our elected officials coordinating. Okay, we understand. Okay, the pandemic task force was terminated. The CDC is not getting enough funding. It should have been a collaboration between those elements, and then maybe we wouldn't have shut down. Businesses are hurting. People are laid off. The job report: 20.5 million people filed unemployment. It's bad. It's bad. Yeah. And I know that we're going to get through this. I know that we are. I have faith that we're going to get through this, but we got to put people in office that's going to be making decisions based on the people, and not based on party, not based on politics.
Right.
In the pocket. Yeah. Not based on the
pocket. That's exactly it. And I know, let's turn now to talking about, and it seems like a big switch, but let's talk about education, because I know that, education is going to help us in coming back from
Right.
economic issues that we're having now. And so let's talk about education and your plans for that.
Okay. Well, our education system, I'm a big supporter of public funding, making sure that our school systems have enough resources and funding so that they can teach, the children that are in school now and the next generation. And then I'm a big supporter of giving our teachers a livable wage. You know, in Georgia, we funded the quality basic education budget, but the teacher was supposed to get a pretty good wage, and then when we got a new governor, he cut it down. And I'm not understanding why is that, because if anything, going back to this pandemic has revealed a lot about our education system, because there are people, counties, especially rural Georgia, is don't have the resources that like the metro area. The education system in the metro areas don't have the resources because broadband doesn't exist, so they can't get internet, they can't get Wi-Fi, they can't go on to, like some counties can go on to Google Classrooms and do their work. Did you know that I found out that teachers was having, in rural Georgia, teachers was having to drop work off? And one teacher told me that it takes her about 3 hours to drop work off, and they would put it to the mailbox, and then they would go back the next day and drop more work off and pick the work up because they didn't have broadband. They had no access to the internet. Most kids in their counties were going to have access to the internet was going to like the library or something like that. But if they don't have access, then they can't compete with people that's in the rural Georgia. I mean, from rural Georgia to metro,
Right.
Which is also a part of my One Georgia plan, is to make sure that every county that doesn't have broadband have broadband. I've written a letter to the Public Service Commissioner. I'm talking to the candidates that's running for their office, and I said your number one priority is you have to make sure that the children in rural Georgia have access to the internet. You got to. There's no way. Otherwise, they won't be able to compete with Metro Atlanta.
Oh yeah, and again, that's another issue that we have, in rural New Mexico, where where there just isn't access to the same sort of things, and and broadband is spotty, and even cell phone coverage can be spotty, and
yeah.
I find that, as you do, that a lot of this is just kind of a sense of racial and economic justice that is being overlooked. And I know that those are some things that are definitely on your platform. And let's talk about one thing that does have to do with a type of justice, and that's your look at the ERA amendment.
Yes. The Equal Rights Amendment is a equality of rights shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on the basis of sex. And that means putting us finally in the Constitution as women. Nevada was the first state, and then Illinois, and then Virginia gave us our 38th state, which was what was required. And we needed 38 states, but we also have 12 other states that need to ratify. And here in Georgia, we have not ratified the Equal Rights Amendment. And so what we're doing now is, now that we got the 38th state, we're working to remove the deadline. And lawsuits, the attorney generals from those 3 states have filed lawsuits against the archivists to put us in the Constitution, to finally get a constitutional amendment that will help, women with equal pay for equal work. And I know that we have acts. Everybody say, well, you have the Ledbetter Act, you got the Equal Pay Act, you got the Civil Rights Act, you got the Voting Rights, but acts can be overturned.
Right.
The Constitution cannot. And those acts are there to deter, but it does not prohibit. And that's where we are. We have these laws in place, but it does not prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex. And then the recourse is on us to prove that we didn't get that job, or we didn't get better rates, or we didn't get benefits, it's the recourse is on us as women. Well, the Equal Rights Amendment put the recourse on the person that discriminated against us in the first place. I mean, Black women are being paid 61 cents, to the dollar than what white females and Black males are being paid. We're being paid less. And the Equal Rights Amendment will guarantee that we cannot be discriminated against, and we will guarantee equal pay for equal work. And then also with the LGBTQ plus community as well.
Right. And that's so important because, when you consider that 51% of this country is female, there is no reason that we should be discriminated against to that degree. And there should be no distinction between races or gender identity when when these are social constructs that are just put down upon us by that the white male Protestant,
right.
Thing coming down on everybody else. And let's look really fast, because I know we're beginning to run out of time here, but also equally important to this, because again, it has to do with that sense of social justice, is your look at public safety, which is just a tragedy in the southern states particularly.
Mm-hmm. And you mean our public safety as in our transportation
and justice reform.
And in economic justice, you went out a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we must look out for the public. We must put laws in place that's going to make sure that not only do we have the resources available, that people have access. See, a lot of times we don't have access, and then they say, well, we don't have enough money, and that's certainly not true. In one of our counties, they spend $19 million towards a jail, but only $7 million toward the education system. And then I was blasted because I said, well, don't you think if you put more money into the education system, switch that number around, put 19 million into the education system and 7 million into the jail system, and maybe if you put a little bit more into our education system, you wouldn't have to put so much more in the jail. But then also with rural Georgia having to get to the metro Atlanta area, we have a VA center, but the VA center in rural Georgia in my district doesn't cover all of the necessary medical services for veterans. As you know, I'm a veteran, and I really care. I step out there, on the front line again with veterans, but, it doesn't have all of the necessary medical services. And I believe that no veteran should be without services regardless of zip code, and then it takes you 2 weeks to get to the main hospital. So, where are we when it comes to the safety of the public?
Right.
Where are we?
Exactly, and especially in our rural districts, and even in the big cities. I mean, and it's ridiculous when you see, an African American man jogging through his neighborhood, being shot down in cold blood, and that sort of thing is just
yeah, that was down in Brunswick, which is also rural Georgia. And, we cannot take the law in our own hands.
Right.
We just cannot. The first responders, the officers, they are trained, for things like that. And if they felt like the person was, doing something wrong, or they broke in the house or whatever, then they should have notified the police instead of taking it upon. And that's another tragedy. Why do we even have a citizen's arrest law in the state of Georgia? What is that? And so and I pray for the family. I pray for the city of Brunswick, and I pray that we heal from this. But it's gonna have to take some real hard changes, and that's from up down, top down, that we're gonna have to do, because there's no sense in why he was jogging and he was trapped between two cars, two trucks,
Yeah.
And then for them to go 2 months without being arrested, I mean, come on, really?
Right. And that's just the nonsensical nature of so much that needs to be fixed, and why we need people,
Hmm.
who to run, who are dedicated to making those changes. And we're at the very end. We have just a little tiny bit of time left. And so what I would like you to do now is actually take one more minute and appeal directly to your voters why they need to be voting for you.
Yes, voters, thank you so much for having me once again. I love coming on your show. And everybody, I'm Triana Arnold James. I'm running to be your state senate senator in District 30 and representing the people. I'm a mother. I'm a wife of a veteran. I'm a veteran myself, and I'm an advocate for the people. And I know that I will go to the state capitol and give you a voice. You will have a voice through me, because no more missing moments to building bridges. We're going to build on bridges. We're going to fill in the gap, and we're going to make sure that everyone is insured.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been absolutely a pleasure having you here yet again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I enjoy it every time.
That's really great. And when you're sitting in that seat, I want you to come back and talk with us again about things that are happening, as the good things that will be happening.
One thing that I learned from President Obama is he took it to the people. So you best believe everything that's going on under that gold dome, I'm going to bring it to the people, whether the Democrats in the majority or Republican, it does not matter. It's the people that counts, and I'm going to bring it to the people.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And what was your website? And I'm going to have that down below also.
Okay, it's TrianaForGeorgia.com. Triana, the number 4 Georgia.com.
Okay, and we'll have it below. And thank you again, and thank you everybody out there for watching this episode. And it's really important for you to get out there and check out the websites. Make sure you check out Triana Arnold James, her website, and make sure that you are aware of all of your candidates. Get out there and vote, and just really educate yourself on the issues and on who is running. And thank you again, everybody, for being there. Thank you, Triana, and we'll see you next time.